Hello, and welcome to I'm a Perfectionist, Get Me Out of Here, where we are all allowed to be perfectly imperfect. I am Eileen Webb, a licensed psychologist, cognitive behavioral and EMDR therapist, podcaster, author of Perfectly Imperfect and Transformation Through the Power of Quotes. My guest this week is Sahmylle Peixe, who is a CEO in Wellbeing Investments, helping people prosper through property. She's also mom of three, and she's homeschooling her teenage daughter. Join us in this heartfelt conversation about how to get on the property ladder, as well as being mom of three and homeschooling discussions. Hello, Mylle. Hello, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here.
It's fantastic to have you here as a guest. I have been checking your website. Oh my God, it's so easy to navigate. It's so nicely done. So why don't you tell
Oh,
us a bit about yourself, uh,
yes.
who Mylle is and how you got to where you are?
Sure. So my name is Mylle Peixe. I'm the CEO of Wellbeing Investments Limited. Been in the UK for 26 years. I was born in Brazil, but I feel very English because my mom tells me that I eat English food and I have some funny habits of eating, and I find it quite funny. So that's kind of my mom's perfection is coming out there in a way that she feels that I should be very much Brazilian, but I've been here long enough to feel very English in that perspective. I have my background is in HR, so I have been an HR business partner for many corporates. I've been in the corporate job for nearly 15 years. And I left the corporate job because I was stressed at work. I used to look after 850 people. And then I discovered the world of property. So out of necessity, I was trying to get into the property ladder 13 years ago, and I have my mom who is disabled, and we were looking, and I'm her main carer, so we were looking for a property that we could have her with us. Really struggled to find one, and in the end, we decided to buy a property with a garden that we could extend and do the facilities for her there and then. With that, we knew that we literally doubled the price of our property just by adding an extra bedroom and bathroom for my mom and also extending our kitchen 4 meters. And when the valuer came around to value the property after the refurbishment, it was a big refurbishment. We didn't have a kitchen for like 3 months. And I had my oldest daughter, who was a baby at the time, and it was an interesting journey. But when the valuer came over and he said, "Oh, you've doubled the price of your property," we were both like, "Oh my God, what am I doing is stuck in the corporate job?" So we then started looking into courses and really started to learn strategies of property investing. And then I felt a little bit lonely because you become financially free out of property, and then I'm a very people's person, so I was like, oh my God, I need to find something to do. And then decided to start coaching people on how to become financially free through property. Well, not just that, also helping the Portuguese Brazilian community get into the property ladder in the UK, because most of them have this belief that they can't, is very complicated, and it's not that complicated. It's just about understanding where you want to achieve and how you can organize your paperwork from there. So I do this program where I help the Portuguese speaking community get into the property ladder and learn how to invest in property in the UK and Portugal. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, a summary of my journey. I've founded Wellbeing Investments nearly 8 years ago now. And to date, we have 2 brokers now working directly for us, and also 2 administrators. And obviously myself and my husband, we are directors of the business. So, and it keeps growing, which is amazing. We have launched a lot of different products, but also business loans. So we also have launched recently a product for businesses. And it's amazing the amount of inquiries that we have and how people have been coming to us very organically, because most of our clients have been referred from a client who bought with us. And it's been a great journey. It's been a perfect journey.
It's one of the best things, isn't it, when it's an amazing compliment when you had clients who are then referring other clients to you.
Yes.
That's or coming back to you as well. That's a great compliment to the work you do. But just out of what you're saying, I think I might become a client. I love the way you are just explaining the stuff. And when you say, oh,
Oh,
everyone thinks that getting on a property ladder is difficult in the UK and it's actually easy, I'm sure there are a lot of people who would like to experience what you have experienced
yes.
out of just really without knowing naively have adding an extension to your house and just shifting stuff another bedroom, and then suddenly it doubled the value. And until then you were in HR.
Correct, correct. So I have a degree in HR management, and I've also done a BA business studies. And then I've kind of started my career working for Sainsbury's, funnily enough, as an HR assistant. Gosh, this is many, many years ago. And then I've built it up my career from then. I've worked for many corporates. My last role was for Unilever, and I used to look after 850 people
Amazing.
globally.
Yeah.
And it was so stressful, I would say, because sometimes I had to be up at 6 in the morning to look after the guys in India, and sometimes stay behind to talk with the guys in the US in New York, and come home really late. So, you know, it was
Covering
very,
lots of
yes,
different
yes.
time zones.
Indeed, indeed. And I think, you know, I really appreciate what I've learned in the corporate job, but it's definitely, it's funny how I got in stuck into the corporate world for so long, and now I realize, my God, if I knew that being an entrepreneur would give me so much freedom of choice, I probably wouldn't have gone through that journey. But you know, you tend to follow the mass, and my mum used to say to me, oh gosh, you have to do a degree if you want to be someone in life. And actually, I don't think you do. I think, you know, I don't encourage my kids to go to uni. My older daughter has just started, you know, secondary school, and we've decided to home educate her now, just because I don't need her to be in that stressful perfectionist environment. I want her to be free and to decide what makes her happy, rather than having other people telling her what she should or shouldn't do. And I remember really well a feedback that I had from one of my CEOs at the time, to say to me, oh, Mylle, you're too friendly to be a director. And that's one of the last feedbacks I had from one of my directors at the time. And now I am my own CEO, and I can do it. And you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, just do it. And I've the entrepreneur journey has taught me not to be so perfectionist, and actually create an environment that you were trying, and if you make a mistake, it's okay, just keep going. But you know, have a vision and just keep going. And I think helping people prosper and helping people believe that they can get into the property ladder is my biggest drive. Because when I see, you know, a client who came to me and he had a very messy credit report, and they have no clue what they're doing, they have no financial education whatsoever, to then see them 12 months later with the keys on their hands, with strategies that would actually get them to add value to their property, get equity into that property to buy another property, it's so rewarding to see how quickly they can actually change that. Obviously, clients who have a very red credit report, it may take 2 years. That the maximum that we had with a client was 2 years, but they still got into the property ladder. And it's about actually saying yes to every client. And we at Wellbeing Investments, we do not say no to any client whatsoever, because we believe that you all are capable of getting to the property ladder. It's all about organizing yourself, changing your belief and actually understanding what the process is about, understanding how the lender is going to look at you so you can behave better and you can have a certain behavior that the lender will be like, oh, okay, we're happy to lend to that person. It may take a couple of months, it may take a year, but it's actually just, you know, getting your profile in a way that you're going to be accepted. So many of our clients come to us because they had no from their banks, or they had no from a broker, and brokers would not even look at them. And we're like, no, come, we're here to hug you and to actually teach you how to do it. It may take a year, but a year goes like this, so let's just do it. And it's about this belief that I find. So we're not just a normal broker, it's actually getting the client, first of all, what I say to them, the first key to getting to the property ladder is to believe that you can. And if you believe that you can, we're going to find a way. But if you believe you can't, then we're probably not going to find a way. Then you're not the right client for us. So it's about believing in yourself. The same way that when I left the corporate job, I didn't really believe in myself until I had to pick myself up and actually say, yes, I can do this. And by helping my friends and family get into the property ladder, we've created Wellbeing Investments. So, you know, it's do not be the perfectionist that, you know, we all want to be because the mass tell us to be. Just keep going, guys. There's no right or wrong. Just keep going and keep smiling and be grateful for whatever challenge comes your way. And I think that's the way life should be. And I think gratitude should be taught at school to our children, because it's so important, right? And I find that more and more when there's a challenge that come through, or maybe we had a case that was declined, I say to the client, right, let's be grateful for that, because a better opportunity is going to come. We just need to prepare ourselves a bit better. Or, you know, so it's about having those challenges. And I'm not saying that the market is easy at the moment, but all I'm saying is that we are here to be persistent with you and to actually find solutions for you. It may take a few months, but we will find a solution together. As long as you believe that you can, we will definitely find a solution together.
It's like the Ford quote, isn't it? If you say you can, or if you say you can't, I believe you.
Absolutely.
It's all about what you believe. But there are a couple of things that you mentioned that I really would like to dig in a little bit more. You mentioned
Yes.
the market is a bit woo at the moment. And I was actually going to ask you about that, because I think that property market can be scary, right?
Yes.
Especially because when people, they want to perhaps buy their dream home, and or start owning their own rather than just paying rent to somebody else, and hope that they can make equity, they can make money on the property that they buy. But of course, with the interest rates suddenly moving around up and down, the monthly payment can go different ways than what people have budgeted for, which we know can really be quite disastrous, as we have seen
Yes.
in property market before. So what's your, you know, if people are afraid of taking those risks, but they still want to, what's your advice on that?
I think there's no right or wrong answer to, because it's really based on the client's profile and, you know, what is it that he's willing to pay on a monthly basis. That's one of my first question is, how much can you afford every month? And I think, you know, I have seen, you say the interest rates are high at the moment, but when I bought my first property back in 2011, I paid 6.5% interest rate a year. And at the moment, we are still able to find lenders out there that are lending at 4%, that are lending below the Bank of England rate, which is 5.25 at the moment. And it hasn't actually increased in the last 4 to 5 announcements. It has stayed stable. So I'm really hoping that the next announcement is coming up at the beginning of May. We're going to see a drop on it. And you know, I think it's about finding the right deal. And if you find a property that you can actually add value to it and understanding the strategies, or if you find a property that is below market value that you can add value to, I think, you should not stop on doing the process, because the interest rates at the Bank of England is 5.25 at the moment. And there's something that people get really confused. The fact that the Bank of England rate is 5.25 doesn't mean that all the mortgage products are going to be at that rate. So we have mortgage that are 4% at the moment, for instance. So, it's about understanding how is your behavior at the moment, from a financial perspective. Make sure you don't have any missed payments. And if you do, maybe that's why our financial planning is here to help you. How can you actually improve your behavior? So then in 6 months' time, the lender can see you differently. So it's about understanding your financial profile, but it's also about getting a property that you can add value to, and then make it work. I mean, the interest rates, honestly, it's not as high as the media is making it a big thing out there. And I have not watched news since I've started this mompreneur journey, that I say I've stopped watching the news. And I hear, obviously, we get emails from the lenders all the time, but it's about, don't let the media pollute your mind. And if you want to achieve something, there's no right or wrong answer to it. Just go and look for it. And the amount of clients, I mean, the amount of inquiries and clients that we had recently, oh, Mylle, I found this property. It was on the market for 450K last year. Now it's gone back to the market at 400K. So the property prices have dropped as well. So you have to balance it out. Last year, the interest was low, but then the property prices was just ridiculous. Some clients of ours who have agreement in principle couldn't find any property in the area that they wanted. And then at the beginning of this year, they started seeing the drop on the prices. So it's about balancing that out, but also understanding what are the strategies that you could use to then double the price of that property or add value onto that property, so we can actually work with you and make sure that you create an equity into the property to then continue growing your portfolio. And that's one of the strategies that we use very regularly with our clients. And therefore, I wouldn't stop. If you want to get into the property ladder, the 0% deposit mortgage at the moment is 1% deposit mortgage at the moment. With minimal money, you can actually get into the property ladder, and also open your mind to living outside of London. I think a lot of my clients have come to me like, oh, Mylle, I want to live in London, but I can't afford. Okay, let's sit down, let's do some research. And the homework that I give to them is, okay, well, you're going to visit 4 to 5 areas in the UK outside the M25. There is a life outside the M25. And then from there, you tell me how you felt within those areas. Do they have easy access to London? And a lot of my clients have actually moved out of London now. So, it's not, you can't buy your first home as the perfect home. I say this a lot to my clients. Your first home doesn't have to be the perfect home. It has to be a home that you can make perfect, or it has to be a home that you're going to actually transform into a let to buy in the future. And then you're going to buy your perfect home. But it's about not getting stuck into that perfect dream home at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's about what can I afford, and then move on from there.
Yeah, just get on the ladder, you're saying. Just getting on the ladder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And then it's easier, because like clients who are maybe converting their buy to let their homes into a let to buy at the moment and buying another residential, the lender will look into you very, very differently, and you will get lower rates. And it's about understanding the strategies, but getting to the ladder means 0% deposit. You have to put no deposit down. It's based on your rent. So, there is possibilities out there for you to get out of rent.
Sounds amazing. I might have a little chat with you about all of this. Because you see, this journey of yours that you have explained, from going from corporate world to become your own boss, I think it's always fascinating, especially when you've made it successful. I can see that you've got people working for you and your business is thriving. And that was all something that started by saying, oh, we just doubled the equity in our house, and you could see an opportunity in that
Yeah.
and took it from there, which is fantastic. So there were a couple of things again. One of them I'd like to ask about your daughter and how you have actually seen the perfectionism in the society, how it's being beaten into us, you know, about the things that we must and we should, and how we have to perform and in order to succeed, which directions we have to go. So that's one of my questions. And the other is, I'm wondering, while we are at the property, before we move on to your private life, whether you have experienced perfectionism in your professional life and how that has affected you and how you overcame.
Loads of examples, but one example that I'll never forget, because I think I broke that limiting belief of being perfect. It was one client, and mind you, I've been in the business for nearly 8 years now, and we had about 4 complaints that sold. And one of them was a client who was actually saying to me, "Oh, Mylle, I didn't feel," and even though I saw herself, her husband, her son, her daughter-in-law, the whole family, gave them different scenarios of how they could get into the property ladder, a full 2 hours consultation, they were not happy. And my immediate reaction was, okay, I'm going to give you the money back, and that's how I'm going to do it. And the broker that was collaborating with me at the time, she said to me, "Mylle, why are you doing this? My God, look at the plan that you've done for those people. Why are you giving them the money back? No, you're not." And I'm so grateful to Adriana, because she was collaborating with me at the time, and she has helped me break that belief that I had to be perfect, because actually the client was the one who didn't feel appreciated, but I know that I have delivered even more than I promised to them. And at the time, I used to charge such a small fee for the service. And I was like, no. And that has triggered me to actually not refund the client and double the price of my consultation, because I was like, okay, I hear you, Adriana, and I think there's a limiting belief on myself. I don't need to be perfect. I'm doing my best. If the client is not happy, then they can make a complaint to the ombudsman if they want to, but I have proof. And I then went into a whole synopsis of events. I then kind of drove my very perfectionist person, picked up every single message that the client sent me and did a whole synopsis of events in case she did a complaint about my services. And I had it already, and I was like, and I stood to my rights and I said, no, I'm not refunding you, because I have delivered and I have promised. If you have decided not to go ahead, then it's your choice, it's not mine, and therefore you're not getting a refund. And that broke my belief and even made me double my fees. And it's amazing how you realize, right, people, there's going to be a lot of judgment in this journey, and it's okay for people to think of you in a way, but you don't need to think the same way.
If perfectionism is getting in the way of you living your life to the full, then check out my new book, Perfectly Imperfect: Cultivating Your Self-Worth in a Demanding World. It's based on cognitive behavioral principles and can help you work on yourself.
In the corporate job, I've been told I was too friendly to be a director, and I then became my own CEO, and I'm very successful. I have been recruiting apprentices, and I've been teaching some of my brokers who now are full-time brokers with us. So I've done so much that I feel like actually the opinion was my director's opinion at the time, but it's not the person I am. But once you know who you are, doesn't matter what others say. You just know who you are, and you're just going to focus on your journey and your purpose and what you want to achieve and who you can help. Because I think the reason why I'm so successful is because my business is driven by helping people, and I love people, and therefore when you have so much passion with what you do, and one of the biggest things is like, I don't say no to any clients. I hold your hand and we're going to make it work as long as you believe you can. So, you know, it's a mixture, right? But all of you out there who thinks, oh my God, I have to have everything perfect to set up my own business, or I have to have everything perfect to whatever it is that you wish to do, just believe that you can and go for it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Things will flow. And that's what I have experienced. It hasn't been easy. You know, we had many bumpy rides, many down times, many times that especially at the beginning when I was like, right, I didn't make enough money this week, so I'm going to start sharing my CV again with companies, because I had a good CV, so I could actually get a job really easily. But I wish at the beginning I believed more on my business, because I would have actually be much bigger now. But it was because I wanted to be perfect, uh, that perhaps I have not grown as much as I have the potential. And I think that's a big message for whoever is listening out there.
Yeah, it's just do it and learn along the way. I think there is,
Indeed.
yeah, I think Richard Bronson said something like, and I love that, if someone asks you if you can do a job, just say yes and then learn it. So,
Indeed.
yeah, say yes, and you will, you'll definitely find out how to do it then. And I love that one. And you're so right about our self-worth being dependent on what we have inside, and that often we see, I think, that, and I'm sure we have, but I know, for example, that it's been the case for me for many, many years, that your self-worth is dependent on what others think of you. And if there is someone who is not nice to you, or who doesn't like you, suddenly you just focus on that and you feel
Hmm.
your worth, oh, you're rejected, they don't like you, and you just take it as no one likes you. And in fact, there are so many people who do love you and like
Yes.
you exactly the way you are. And it's just giving
Indeed.
up that, letting go of that, oh, well, it's okay if you do, it's okay if you don't, because I know that I'm
Exactly.
worthy and I know who I am and I like myself the way I am. And I'm not perfect. That's okay.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. No,
yeah. But
absolutely.
you have been giving us so many tips, and I'm sure there will be people who will want to know more about your business and how they can get on the property ladder in a
Of
very
course.
supported way, that the way you are doing. So just going back to your private life, I think you've got 3 children.
Correct.
And you
Correct.
mentioned that you have decided to take a really big step and homeschool your daughter.
Correct.
Do you want to tell us a bit more about your thoughts and your emotions behind this and how you feel it's going?
Sure. Sure. I think it's going really well, and I'm glad I did. I had a lot of resistance from my husband at the beginning. My husband has been brought up in a very strict, educate academic family, and so have I. Right? I have heard from my mama, if you don't go to uni, you're not going to be anybody in life, and I think I have managed to heal all of that through doing different therapies and holistic therapies. I'm a big fan of holistic therapies and spirituality. And Michaela, if I look backwards now from where she is now, we've been home educating her since last summer. And the feedback that I constantly had from the school is that Michaela was behind on her reading and writing, and she's bilingual. When she was 6, she used to translate for my mom and for her grandparents, because her grandparents are Portuguese, and obviously we've got a Brazilian family. So, and I remember correcting her head teacher at the time, asking him, so do you speak another language? Why are you telling me that my daughter is behind? I think she's just taking her time because she's bilingual. And I always had that feeling that, you know, they were treating her as a number rather than a human being.
Mm.
And when Michaela moved into secondary school, that's when I feel that she then became even more of a number rather than a human being. And we then gone through a lot of difficult times in the morning, like driving Michaela to school crying. And then one of her best friends left school, which kept her really down. And I said to her, darling, we're going to go through this together, don't worry. And then I got exposed to a lot of families who were home educators. And one of my friends started sharing with me some podcasts and some information about home education and how it's done. And I became fascinated by some of the children that I got exposed to that never gone to school, and they were fluent in English and Portuguese, and you know they could read and write, and it was just like, wow, how could that be possible? To cut a long story short, to date, Michaela has read 24 books since Christmas. She loves reading. The moment that we gave her the freedom of choice, she then discovered the passion for reading. And it's beautiful to see that she has actually, now we have been introduced to a forest school community, which is a community of home educators. And the tutor that we have there, so she's not fully home educated anymore, but she's been home with me for a good few months. We now discover this community who has the same approach that we have at home. And they were saying, Mylle, Michaela has been pretty much contaminating her reading passion with older friends, because they don't call them students. And all the children her age have started creating that curiosity about reading, and they all just love it. So if I look back on the feedback that we had at primary, secondary, and to now see, right, I've given her the freedom. We've been working together on what is it that she wants to do, what topics she wants to focus on. And to, you know, less than a year's time, she's telling me, Mommy, I want to study for my GCSEs and I want to go to Oxford University. And I was thinking, where did that come from?
Amazing. Yes. So you mentioned that she was crying when you were taking her to school. What was going on, do you think? What was she so unhappy about? If you want to share, of course,
Yes.
please tell
I
me
mean,
if
I'm happy to share. And I think, you know, I hope that's, you know, kind of it's seen by parents who maybe have kids that are not happy at school, and that's encouraged them to be as brave as we were. And I think especially me, because the idea came from myself, and then I had to convince my husband and push him to read some podcasts and read some books about home education, and then eventually we took the decision. But I think unfortunately, and you know, I guess I have to be very careful how I say this. I think that the system it's broken, really. I see it from the experience I had with Michaela. And home education is maybe not for every child, right? So for instance, my middle boy, Miguel, he loves school. He loves going to school. He loves reading. He loves writing. He loves his maths. So, you know, maybe that's not a journey for every child. And that's the thing that I think is broken in the system, is that they treat our children exactly the same, and they are not. And I think that's the bit that we struggle the most, especially when she started secondary school. All this very rigid behavior, you know. Oh, if you are 1 minute late, you're gonna get detention. And many times we've dropped Michaela at school, and I used to do that because I had to drop my younger daughter at nursery, which was literally next to her. And many times we had a text message from the school saying, oh, your daughter is not here. And imagine, for a parent who maybe had to go into London to work or something. I was lucky enough that my office was close to her school and I worked for myself. But in many occasions, we had texts from the school because they didn't mark her as being present because she was doing an exam or something like that. And I knew she was there. I mean, she's not the type of child who will run out of school. But things like this. And I think when her best friend left, I personally went to the school. I spoke to the head teacher. I spoke to the head of the year, and I have explained the situation, but didn't feel they took any attention. And many times I decided, okay, I'm not taking her to school in tears, and I used to take her to the office with me. And she was too exposed. I mean, Michaela knows more about mortgage than I think many adults out there, because she's been exposed to. I have given her real life, exercises and stuff to do, and I think it's all about them being happy. And if a child, or even us, if we're not happy in a certain environment, you have to be brave enough to get out of that environment and look out for the things that make you happy. And I think that's what unfortunately this school doesn't teach our children. They tell us, okay, this is what you have to do, and it doesn't matter if you like it or not, you have to do it anyway. And I think there are certain moments in life that we're going to be doing things that we don't enjoy, but it's how can you then manage it better, rather than just be telling them what to do. And all this detention at secondary school,
And yes, and
I don't really agree.
I hear a lot about now.
Crazy.
It's been a long time since my daughter has been in secondary school, but I hear a lot. It sounds like detentions have increased to a level that you look right, you have got detention, you look left, you've got detention, and the kids seem to be completely indifferent now when they get detention. Oh yeah, okay, I've got detention now, which used to be a scary thing many years ago, an embarrassing thing, but they're now okay with it, because I think it sounds like they're given it for everything. And that again, in like you say, it's different, the needs of each child, just like we are all unique and different. It's different for each and every child. And I guess that the school system is overwhelmed. They do all they can, but the only way they are trying to keep the system going in one, as well as they can, is to just be rigid and try and put everyone in the same box. And
Yes.
and I guess that they simply don't have the resources. So this is not to blame anyone, but it just seems like
No.
they just don't have the resources to be able to bring out the individualities and allow children blossom. Because really, all of our jobs, especially including the schools where the kids are spending so much time, is to prepare them for life, right?
Yeah.
And in life, once we finish school, we don't keep getting detentions in real work, work environment, and in our marriage, or as parents, and so on. So I guess preparing you for life is different
Yes.
in a way. And since we all have different talents, like your
Yes.
daughter suddenly discovered she loves reading, and she's so passionate, she's passing that passion on to other people as well. We all blossom in different ways. That
Indeed. And
passions.
I think that's one of the feedbacks that I gave to the head teacher when we took the decision. It's about, I don't feel that they see the kids' strength, they see more their weaknesses, and they focus on the weakness. And I see now that obviously I'm much closer to Michaela because she spent a lot of time with me. I take her to work with me when she wants to. I said to her, if she wants to do mommy's payroll, you can do that. I've given her so much freedom. There's so many other ways that they can learn maths and English and different languages and science and geography, history, you name it. But it's about focusing on their strengths, not the weaknesses. And then with the weaknesses, you just need to encourage them, because I think we are all, it's very similar to what I do with the buying the property, right? Everybody comes to me, they think they have this weakness, they can't do it, they don't have the right finances, they don't have the right savings. and actually, okay, how can we then focus on your strength and make your weaknesses better and practice? Because I think we can all be good at everything that we want as long as you practice. It's like in sports, right? I mean, how most athletes out there, they practice every single day.
Yeah.
Do we practice finance every single day? Do we actually make a note of everything that we spend every single day? No, we don't. We don't have financial education at school. And I mean, I've learned the hard way when I was 35 how to save better, how to not use my credit card so much, and all those little things, and how to teach our children to look after their credit reports. It's something that our children are not told at school. They very early stage they are given a credit card, and I've seen many teenagers that came to me who was full of debt at the moment and have missed payments all over the place. And it's about that. It's also about teaching them real life skills about breathing, looking to themselves, and all of those things I've learned at very late age, after I left university and everything. And so those are the things that I think are missing, is really to treat them as humans are different. They are all different, and how can we help them actually see the beauty inside them? And hence there's so many kids out there who have mental health issues, and that's one thing that I feel is not spoken about enough. It's
Yeah.
how we expect our children to be so perfect, but we don't realize the impact that we're causing to their mental health. And I have experienced that myself when I left the corporate job, because I was expected to be perfect, but I was never good enough for the corporate words. And it's a very challenging journey for someone who has been told what to do all the time, and all of a sudden they realize, oh my god, I've been told that I'm not good enough. And I think it's all those little things that start from the beginning of the young age, right? To actually tell them, no, you are good enough. It doesn't matter what others tell you. It goes back to the beginning of our conversation, right? So don't try to be perfectionist to the world out there, but look at the perfectionist within yourself. And I think that's the beauty of it, whichever age you are out there.
Yeah, and really, I think I'll bring in the society there as well, that we are not born perfectionists. We are not
Indeed.
born with thinking, oh, I am this, I have to do this. If I don't achieve that, I'm a failure. We are not born with any of those beliefs.
No.
It's something that we learn along the way because of the story that the society tells us about what success
Indeed.
is. So it's an amazing subject, and I think you and I, we can just keep talking about this. But I'm aware you're a busy lady. So thank you so much for coming and joining me today and
Pleasure.
exploring the world of property and exploring the world of perfectionism in the world of our children as well, and how we can help them shift those negative beliefs that they may learn about themselves while they're going through the system. And is there anything you think that you would like to add that I may not have covered?
I think going back to our children, I just wanted to give an example of one of my tenants I was talking to the other day, and he was saying, "Oh, my son is really struggling at school." And I gave him some tips on how to learn a little bit more about home education, and he has now taken the courage to take his son out of school. And I think for anyone out there who is facing the same challenge, please don't expect your children to be perfect, because they are not, and we are not. And therefore, if perhaps the school environment is not for them, have a look at alternatives. There's so much support out there. Even the local councils, they will support you. And we had great support. We were lucky enough to have some families around us who have experienced the same. But please, don't push your children that much, because they also need to feel the love. And just take time to look in their eyes and say how much you love them. It doesn't matter if they have not done good grades or anything like that. You can catch up together as a team. And I think that the message I want to leave for you guys, to really love your children the way they are, and don't expect them to be perfect, because they are perfect the way they are. It doesn't matter what they have been doing, and you can help them achieve great things as long as you see the love and the happiness inside them. I can guarantee you.
Oh, what a fantastic advice. And I think maybe also checking, where do your expectations come from?
Yeah.
How did you learn them? And are they about you, or are they really about your child? Is this about, oh, if my child doesn't go to uni, it doesn't mean I'm a good mom or a good parent or a good dad?
Yes.
So it's always good to check your ego. Is this really about them, or is this really about you? One
Absolutely.
more thing, if I may ask, before you go, and
Yes.
I think this might be you know, a question for many people as we were talking about homeschooling. How is the world of friendship and their social lives when they are being homeschooled?
It's actually, I find that Michaela is busier than before.
Well,
Just
social
people don't
engagements.
know. There is so many groups out there, especially in the UK, and then we discovered different groups in different countries. So we now spend a lot of time in Portugal as well, because we now discovered a forest school group here. And because I'm lucky enough to work for myself, we can spend our life back and forth, and it's fine. But this in the UK itself, when we started in this journey, we found lots of groups. So if you just Google it, home education groups in your area, you're gonna find a lot of groups, and there's many people, I think, waking up to that journey to actually make sure that the kids are happy, rather than forcing them to a journey that doesn't fit their heart. So it actually, Michaela has made so many friends. She kept in touch with her old friends. She's been inspiring some of her secondary school children, and one of her best friends at school has now decided to do a little project to teach her dad how home education is. So because she wants to be home educated as well, because she's having the same fear that both me and Michaela had at the beginning, with my husband. And so she said, "Okay, Michaela, please help me do a project so I can present it to my dad." And I think it's about looking out for the groups, and it's not been a lonely journey, I have to say. I mean, Michaela is a quite friendly child. She can be quite shy, but once she makes friends, she makes friends. And so it's been a great journey, and it's not lonely at all. You will definitely find there's many groups on Facebook. Honestly, just Google within your area and you will find many groups, and try out. That's what we did. She was still at school. We used to try out some of the groups and start making friends there and then to the point where we took the decision. But no, look it up. There will be plenty out there for sure. Even on the council's website, you will find some groups as well. So there's many groups out there.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much for all your insights and joining us today. I'm sure
Pleasure.
everyone really enjoyed it. And thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you so much, and see you soon.
See you soon. Thank you for joining us in I'm a Perfectionist, Get Me Out of Here podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please do leave stars and a review. Help me spread the word by sharing this with your friends and family. My practical manual, Transformation Through the Power of Quotes, will help you or someone you know get through tough times and feel happier. It is now available on Amazon paperback and Kindle. You can also check out our website, mindandmood.co.uk. Thank you again, and remember, imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. Bye for now.